Hello, I'm Michael Retterer with Pheasants Forever and Quail Forever, and in a collaboration effort with the Ohio Division of Wildlife for the 2021 OPHI Symposium, we're bringing to you a series of videos that covers common site preparation methods. This is in an effort to demonstrate common site preparation techniques so that landowners and managers can better understand the outcomes of those practices and choose which outcome best suits their project needs. This next video will cover herbicide application, discuss the equipment setup, and see some results from those applications on both warm and cool season grasses.
I'm here today to talk to you a little bit about the use of herbicides application for conservation practices, whether it be establishment, management, and or maintenance. What we just wanted to cover today is not really a how-to, but just the overall idea of what we're doing and things to consider. The using herbicides, it doesn't fit all applications, and it doesn't have to be used in all instances, but if it is the choice and it's used responsibly, it can be very good. Number one, the thing to consider is if you choose to do herbicides as your management, in your management plan or establishment plan, you need to always make sure that you follow the label. That is the law in Ohio, that you have to make sure that you follow the label recommendations for usage, annual application rates, and methods. So always make sure that you refer to the label, or there are also within Ohio there are some other entities that can give you some assistance. The number one thing to do to make, or in consideration you need to have when you're using herbicides, is what is my application method. Regardless of the application method, whether it's a backpack sprayer, a small utility a sprayer, either with a wand or a boom, or even more of a larger broadcast sprayer, or even the big, more agricultural size sprayers, calibration is the number one thing that we have to do. We have to know how much volume of liquid our sprayer is putting out over a certain area of coverage. That's directly going to affect the rate in which you mix your chemicals, the rate at which you apply them, and then also the effectiveness and or the lack thereof will be directly affected by that calibration. There are many videos online. We're not going to go into how to calibrate each one of these on how to do that, but it's something that you're definitely want to do so that you know how much you're applying and where. Because when you follow the label, for conservation practices, you always want to try to use the maximum rate allowable for that application period. That way you get the best result that you're looking for. One of the other things to consider when you're doing your application, regardless again of the method, is whether it's a backpack sprayer, a utility sprayer, if you're using booms, and even wands, they all have a tip. The backpack sprayers and the wands have adjustable tips. You twist them. That will allow a lot of fluid to come out at once, or it will restrict it to a very fine mist. That will directly affect that rate and coverage. So those are all things you want to consider. And if you're using a boom sprayer, these tips right here that open up and you can take them out and switch out, you can get many different tips that give you different spray patterns and different droplet size. We will actually have information on that at a later point. We have a presentation that has that talks about that, as well as drift and a lot of other things to consider. But for today, it's really just application method and things to consider. So again, if you do choose to use herbicide, make sure you understand and take into consideration and figure out what your application rate is with each one of whichever you choose, and then also make sure you have the right tips, the right herbicide, following the label, and the right rates. Thank you.
So just to reiterate, please make sure you're following the label for the right rates. You want to also make sure that you're using proper measuring devices for those chemicals, and then also you want to make sure that when you're applying this into your container that you're mixing these in the right order if you're doing tank mixes, so that your application comes out as desired. Now let's look at some of these applications being done. As you can see in this video, we're using a boom sprayer. Pay attention to the mist that's coming out of the back, the area that it's covering, that you're getting a good distribution We're going to slow this down so that you can really see the mist in there that it's crossing. It's a fine mist, but not too fine that it's going to distribute, with wind and have drift issues. But you're getting full coverage. This comes into that calibration that we talked about and tip sizes to make sure it works in it. But this is a proper application and cross streaming so that you're maximizing your coverage and not missing any areas. You can really see on that end tip there that it comes out as a little bit of a droplet and then disperses under the pressure that it's being applied with. And this will help you get the proper outcome that you're looking for, as that we'll get ready to see here in these photos. So the application video you saw was from May. These photos here are in June, about 30 days later. As you can see, there's a good kill, some small green stuff coming up. That always happens after you get the first kill. This is from July. You can see a response, loss of vegetation, good response. That was really, really high stuff. So what we needed to do was mow it down. Those annual weeds, the whole point of the herbicide is remove that existing cover. You're going to have seed bank. So we mowed it down just to remove that annual weed pressure. I know what you're going to say. Yes, there was some milkweed, but I've got some photos here to show you that by doing the mowing at the right height, that 10 to 12 inches or even a little bit above, you still leave plenty vegetation there. It is going to regrow. There is still some usage, so it is not a complete loss. And that's on the cool season. So now let's look at the warm season area. So here's a video showing what the existing ground looked like there in late May. We're using the same piece of equipment to go through and do the application. The right tip you see there is off. That was because we didn't want to have drift onto another application we did. This one is standing tall grasses that have been beat down over winter, but as you can see, the boom moves through it just fine. We get that good application out there and spray. A little bit of slow-mo, just like we did in the cool season. You can still see that good mist and that crossing over. And this is what that looks like after the fact. You can see that really spring spraying of warm season grasses does not really affect the area that much at all. Complete response. There just was not enough foliage to take in that application. And through that growing process, we just did not get any reduction in those grasses whatsoever. So I hope you enjoyed this video on some herbicide application methods and techniques. Have a little bit better understanding of what to do, when to do, and what it's going to look like when you're done. And then hopefully this will help you make decisions for your process and practices in the future. Thank you.